All right, so I've added in the eruption. This is how it's kind of playing through in my final frames. And when you see it in your animation test, you can start to see where weird transitions happen. We can start addressing some of those. So in a storyboard, that kind of big flash, that's fine. But in animations, I might want to ease that in. So what I can do is I can take the opacity down frame by frame and kind of ease it in. So you have this. Then I can also even start animating backwards with the original frames. So we have multiple movements happening. As it kind of builds up and builds up. Now there's a reason you don't do full animations in Photoshop, because to do this for every frame over and over for a whole movie would be just really, really time consuming. But this way you can control in the frames you have the changes. And I'm already over 50 frames, which is getting to be where it's not as cleanly going to render online. But remember, we can use these frames and we can animate with them while they're individual. Now, as we're finishing up this eruption, I'm also going to start to add in some special effects. And this is something else that's kind of fun. So now that it's at 100%, if I double click on the layer, maybe I'll take it down just to 90. But now I want to add in some what are called layer styles. And these are mostly used for fonts and for drop shadows and things like that. I don't want any of that, but I could introduce maybe a glow. You see that? And I can adjust that. I can adjust its size and its shape. The problem is any adjustments I make, I'll have to make on each new layer. So I'm going to kind of keep it here. And it's then just kind of add that glow in. Right? So it goes from this to this. And now we start having this big glow, and that's going to start to transition out. So the next frame, keep it at 100%, but I'm going to add in the glow. It's called an outer glow. And it works because it goes around my character. And then I'm going to change its size from 5 to 20. You can see that difference. Then up to 35, maybe even 40. And then I can start playing with its spread. No, I don't like that. But I can make its opacity a little stronger. And the fun thing about effects is you can always dial them back. I'm just seeing if I want to play with which creature I use, but no, I think I'll keep it pretty standard. All right, so last one, big glow. And now to really make it feel like an explosion, not only am I going to take the opacity of the glow all the way up, I'm also going to add another effect, which is just a color overlay. I'm going to make it kind of a bright yellow. Really make it look like it's glowing, maybe almost a white. And now I want to work between these two layers. In fact, I think I'm going to give myself a new layer. And then on this one, I'm going to take that color overlay out. Okay. Then I'm going to create yet another layer. And you can do that, or not layer, I shouldn't say, I should say frame. And on that new frame, I'm going to create a brand new layer, and I'm going to fill it basically with white, okay? And I'm going to add in this other asset that I've been working with. Let me see, I have that open. Yes, right here. And that is this big kind of overwhelming smoke asset I haven't used yet. So many assets right here. I'll go ahead and move that over as well. Now the problem with moving things in while you have frames already programmed and outputted is any new layer you bring in like that, it's going to add to every frame. So I'm going to select every frame except for my last frame. Select them and then turn that off of those frames. And also turn the white off. Okay, and now I'm back to my original frame, so this is what we have. Good, now let's work on the end. And the idea is to get it to kind of transition back. Now on this layer, I'm going to rasterize this asset. I want to use the move tool. Have that smoke and steam just kind of fill everything. Scorching the earth, basically. It goes from this to this to this, make a new frame, and on that new frame to that, and kind of cools off to this, where everything's burning. So how do I transition between these without having to make more and more layers? So I'm going to select both of them by holding down Command, and I'm going to put in tweens. And this will add a series of layers between those two. So you see the white's going to slowly build up now and slowly overtake everything. I'll do it here as well. You can only tween between two layers. And it won't move anything for you, but it will transition. See? Now it's kind of an eruption. It overtakes everything. And then when I tween between these two, I'm going to make it even more. I'm going to make it 10 layers, or 10 frames in between. It added that movement. I didn't want it to add that movement, so I'll show you how I can fix that. So as soon as this starts showing up, I select it with the final frame, and with all of those, I'm going to move that frame into the right place. Okay, so then it's there into the right place. And then we have that nice dramatic reveal at the end. Now what would make it better is to then move from this and transition back to the first frame. So I'm going to select that one, then hold down Command, select my very first frame, and do a 20-step tween in between those. So that's a lot, but it's a pretty big transition. It almost works. I'm going to change the movement of it a little bit again. So all of those, going to select this. And move it down. Almost. Maybe I delete these. Now I go from this frame to this frame and tween there just 5. So just playing with the frames, getting what you want. I think I'm going to add a new frame and a new layer. And on that new layer, I'm going to fill it with %, gray. Again, I have to take it out of every other layer. Turning it off, deprogram it, because any new layer you build in will affect it. I want to take this down to 40%. Then I'll transition between these two. 5 frames. Good. Kind of blinks out. And then I'll transition between this and my first frame. It will kind of reveal my character from the ash. The idea. Oh, why it keeps moving. Oh, I think I have to turn these off. There we go. Then we won't have that problem. Now remember, all your frame programming is doing is programming the eyeballs next to your layers. So that's how you work with it. Okay, so that's my finished animation. What do I do now? I'm going to say File, Save. Now everything, even the animation script, is in my PSD. And then the next demo, I'll just show you quickly how to save it as a GIF and how to make your storyboard.